There are three ways to generate leads. All right. The first way is to be really proactive. Go out there and just go find a property owner or somebody that represents a property owner to talk to and see if they would consider an offer in their property. Right. That's what people typically call prospecting. The second way is marketing. Right. You spend money. You put it out there, you say, hey, listen, I buy houses, and people reach out to you. They understand what your business does, and when they're ready to sell, they reach out to you, and that's called marketing. Well, the third way, and truly the most profitable way, but I think the trickiest way to get leads is by referrals. By building a great reputation, by being loud out there so that people know that you buy houses, that you are a real estate entrepreneur. And it gets tricky at times because when we're getting started, there's impostor syndrome. We don't really have the confidence to get really loud about what we're doing. Maybe we tried some other businesses in the past and they didn't work out that we were really excited about. So we kind of want to, keep this under wraps until we get some success. But I think that that's the wrong mentality. I think that you should be as loud as possible. I think you should build up your network of trusted people that are going to send you opportunities as fast as possible. And we've got an absolute master of this that is going to break this down. He's been doing this for real estate investors for 13 years on building incredible organic content and really pathways to be able to allow people to send you free deals. It's my friend, Josh Culler. Josh, how are you, bud?
Dude, I'm doing so good. What a great intro. I appreciate you having me on. I've never been on your show before, so I'm really looking forward to bringing some heat for you.
So how do we get past the imposter syndrome? Let's start there because nobody's going to take action. Nobody's going to start doing content. Nobody's going to start posting all the time. Nobody's going to they're going to kind of hide away and try to find some deals before they start talking about what they're doing. How do we get past that so that we can just start finding some great opportunities?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot of methodologies behind how to be, good on camera, how to put stuff out and just, take action, that sort of thing. And I know you're a guy that preaches action and, this is probably nothing new to you, but the way that I really frame it up. And there's been a handful of times where I'll get on a call with somebody and they'll ask me the same question. And I try to give it to people straight. And I basically say, look, in business, there's things that, or not just business, but in life, there's things that we don't want to do, but we have to. You're in shape, you're fit. I'm in shape, I'm fit. I feel like I'm healthier than I had been when I was 18 years old. And I don't know about you, Brent, but I don't thoroughly love going to the gym. It's not something I love to do, right? There's days where I wake up and I'm like, this morning I woke up at 6 a.m. about ready to go to the gym. And I slept in for an extra 20 minutes. I'm like, dude, I really don't want to get up. But right. I got my butt out of bed, got to the gym, did my workout, got back, and I was like, all right, cool, I got it done. In business, there's stuff like that we don't want to do, but we need to. Being on video, putting yourself out there for the world to know who you are and what you do, and even more dial that back, not just the world, but people that are your friends or people that are in your market that could potentially bring you leads and bring you those referrals, letting them know what you do and how you operate. That's something that a lot of people struggle with and don't want to do. But the way I just say it, Brent, is suck it up, do it. It's the action takers that ultimately, rise above the rest of us. The ones that are doing the most and doing the right things consistently, which is a big piece of that as well as consistency. But, when it comes to the imposter syndrome, it's just starting from the first step. And I think a lot of people too, Brent, and I talked with somebody about this specifically yesterday, and this could be a really good conversation to go into as well. People sometimes will have the habits of looking at your content, or they'll look at Pace's content or Jamil's or Jerry's or whatever it is. And they think, how could I ever put stuff out like that?
Yeah.
And it stops them. But then I'm like, yo, they didn't start like that. I would love to go back into your very first video you
bad.
ever put out on YouTube, Brent, and see what that looks like. Just show the world.
You won't find it because I've taken it down.
but the reality is that like you've gotten better over time. It's just like with anything else. The more practice you do, the more you practice it and perfect that practice, the better you're going to get at it. The more confident you'll be, the more comfortable you'll be. It'll create that consistency for you. So there's the answer.
Darren Bentley, who is just the best. He's absolutely incredible, that edits and produces this podcast. He was telling me early on, this is 2017, you got to go on Facebook Lives. You got to do these Facebook Lives. You got to do these Facebook Lives. Back when Facebook Live was actually something that Facebook would put out to everybody, and I was like, dude, what am I gonna do? Like, I feel totally uncomfortable doing that. I'm gonna just go up there and just turn it on and just start like streaming. That's what I see other guys do that, and I'm like, oh, they're weird. What are they doing, right? And so it was a hurdle. If you would have heard the first podcast interview that I did, I prepared and I wrote all this ridiculous scripts out. I wrote all these ridiculous things out, and it was very like just kind of like sterile and just like by the book, and it was bad. It wasn't authentic. It wasn't me. It was just, I was just trying to get through it. And then I did a podcast interview with one of my business heroes, Bob Berg, who wrote The Go-Giver, and I wouldn't even do it on video. I told him it was an audio only podcast because I was just so nervous and I didn't want to screw it up, and I didn't have any experience. So I will tell you, everybody has that. And we're going to get back to how does this generate leads and how does this find you opportunities. But really, we have to set the table and just let you guys know that everybody hates the sound of their voice. And everybody hates what, everybody thinks that every stumble and fumble and bumble that happens is this huge mistake that everybody's going to hate. Listen, it doesn't matter. Just put it out there.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like, I think, and there's the old saying is like comparison is the thief of joy and stuff like that. But I think comparison, like, obviously there's things you could look at with other people and what they're doing and emulate those things, right? Like there's lessons to take away from what other people are doing, and that just determines the scope that you're looking through. But comparison is also the thief of progress as well. Like especially when it comes to what we're talking about. And guys, listen, like, you're an active real estate investor. My assumption is you're not out there like listening to this podcast to try to become an influencer or become the next Brent Daniels. You're just trying to generate more leads and leverage the information that you get here to generate more leads. But the principles that what we're talking about apply exactly to that. So you're not necessarily out there putting videos out teaching people how to do what you do. You're putting videos out there to market yourself and your business in order to be able to generate those leads. And most of that is, showing people what you do, telling people what you do and that sort of thing, and how they can work with you, who you're looking for, who's your demographic, like all that stuff. So I also wanted to bring that up, Brent, because I know a lot of people, like when they start hearing the conversation about putting social media out, putting out content and stuff like that, they automatically think, well, I don't want to be a coach or an educator, so I'm not going to listen to this.
Right.
This is for you too. Listen up.
Yeah, listen, any business. This is the social age. Industrial age in the early 1900s. Then we went into the information age. We're in the social age. This is just a fact of business, and the more people that see your enthusiasm, and we just talked about this on your podcast, the more people see your enthusiasm for the business, the more business you're going to get. You know what I mean? So how do we, what kind of content do we put out, Josh? How do we use this? How do we use our phone, turn it around, and film something that's going to actually get us opportunities to find great real estate deals?
Absolutely. So the way that I kind of lay this out, there's a couple different types of content that you can be putting out, and all of it's going to be centered around what you're an expert in, right? So there's some people out there that they're an expert in novations. There's some people out there that are expert in, like, we work with a guy who's in Atlanta that he only does probate deals. He won't do any other types of deals, and he's a master at it. So every bit of video content he does is centered around probate deals, right?
Awesome.
So obviously you're not going to be on camera talking about things that you're not an expert in and you can help service for your potential customer that's coming in. So the way that there's a couple of really low hanging fruits, like I've seen people, Brent, that take like they have this whole graph, and then there's like motivations and stuff like that of like, okay, well, you should talk about this, and then you lead them here. Like, honestly, the real hard facts about what to put out, and this is the number one reason why people don't move forward with doing this kind of stuff, is that they don't really know what to talk about per se. And you even said it when you were starting your Facebook Lives. What do I talk about? So the first thing that I always tell people, especially if you are listening to Brent and you're talking to people, you're probably getting questions, right? So my definition of content marketing is literally answering questions that your target demographic or customers or leads have about what it is you do, your industry and your processes and your business and that sort of thing. That's literally the core of what content marketing is, just answering questions. So when a lead calls you or calls your lead manager or your acquisitions person or whoever's taking the calls and submitting those questions, they should be writing down every single question. And especially at the end of the day, you sum those up. And if you get, multiple leads asked the same question, do a video on that multiple times, not just once, multiple times in different settings, in the front of different houses, and in different office spaces that you're in, that sort of thing. Have your acquisitions person do a video on it. Have you do a video on it. And that's real hard data. That's literally your leads or your prospects are telling you exactly what they're asking.
Yeah.
And you're answering that on video for somebody that could be coming right behind them asking the same question. And you're utilizing that as a source and, or a resource. And resources ultimately help build that value in, the lead's mind. So that's the first way. Obviously, there's tools out there that you can use, like, the Google Keyword Planner. You go to YouTube and, search, like, what are the keywords and stuff like that. That's all hard factual data that you can also, kind of go off of. But another really cool trick, I actually just put a video out on my personal page today, Brent, that I think is super cool way to use this. So obviously, I'm not going to go into like the power of ChatGPT and all that stuff, but literally here's what you do. You go to your website, granted, hopefully you have a good website, right? And you have a lot of content on there that you can, you kind of work on this with. But even if you don't, go to other competitors' websites that do similar to what you do. Leave those open, go to ChatGPT, literally prompt ChatGPT and say, I need 25, 50, 100, whatever your number is. I need 25 video topics for social media that I can talk about based on the content and my expertise from my website. Paste your website. It's going to list you all your topics. What it does is it'll scrape all the content from every page of your website and say, like I did this, there was a guy that I was talking to on a consulting call yesterday. I did this live for, and that's the video I put out. And he owns a lumber company, and they've exploded massively. But they sell lumber to, I thought it would just be investors, but he sells it to consumers as well that are doing special projects and that sort of thing. And I was like, well, let's create two different segmented lists because those are two different demographics, right? And so we went to one portion of his website that was specific to the consumer and one that was specific to the business owners, and it spit out completely different topics. Now, obviously, you're going to critique those a little bit and that sort of thing, make it work for you.
Can you? Are you on a computer right now that
let's
you
do
can
it,
pull
man.
up my website?
Let's go.
So go joehomebuyerarizona.com.
Let me shrink this a little bit.
joehomebuyerarizona.com. And then you're putting that into ChatGPT.
Okay, so here's what we'll do.
Awesome. Yep.
So here's what we'll do, Brent. So we're going to take, literally just copy. We got all this content here, right? So all this, all the way top to bottom. Then you got all these tabs. And if you really wanted to get, really nitty gritty with this, then you can open up some competitors. But here's what I'm going to do. So let's just say it's 25 topics. Give me 25 topics for video content for social media based on the content from my website. Oh, hold on. Website. Okay.
Yeah.
Paste your website. Boom. And then what it's going to do is it's going to scrape your entire website and then base all of these on what it is that you do. So, obviously, like typically it's going to give you some basic stuff. And if you really wanted to go really nitty gritty, you could start listing, you could start going to, different tabs on your websites or different resource pages, or you have an FAQ, let's click on this one. Right. So now it's going to, like, I could paste this website, but we come back here and now we have all this. But like, here's the thing. Like, for instance, I'm not going to do a video if I'm trying to generate leads to real estate tips and tricks. You can obviously kind of like critique it to what is going to work for you. Some of the stuff's going to be basic, but you know,
Well,
this is a really good one.
You could say, give me 100 topics and then pick the
Right.
ones that are client focused. This is awesome.
Right. Like, this is a great example, Brett. So one of the top searched key phrases when it comes to selling a house for sale by owner is what a cash offer is. Because most people that aren't familiar with selling to a cash buyer think, you know, maybe a cash offer is like, are they showing up to the closing table with a bag of cash? Like, that's a really good way to do it. And then on the example that I gave with this guy,
Awesome.
that I was on the call with, there was a piece of jargon that I think it was a certain type of lumber. And I said, well, that's a jargon that I don't even know what type of lumber that is. That's a video topic too, right? So that's
Awesome.
hard factual data that you can get to create topics. And you don't even have to.
That is a great. So, okay.
Yeah.
So then you turn your phone around, you go through, and how long of a video do you make?
So based off of that, now I won't share my screen again, but you know, here's another piece of like advice I would give you based off of let's pretend that you've done exactly what we just showed you.
Yep.
Now what you can do is go back to that same prompt and say, give me, based on the content of my website, give me 3 to 4 bullet points per topic that I can talk about in video. And now here's the thing, Brent, like people automatically think like if I'm on video, you know, I got to create scripts and stuff like that. To me, I've personally shot videos with over 250 real estate investors over the last, 10 years plus.
Yep.
There's only one person that I can point to that said actually was able to read off a teleprompter with a script and did it well and conveyed enthusiasm, right? We're talking about enthusiasm multiple times. You talked about it on my podcast. It's hard to maintain that when you're reading off a script. So create your bullet points. And guys, this is what post-production video editing is for. You get a point out, talk about it, you know, just the way you would talk to a seller if they were asking you the question themselves. You're on camera, and then you stop, think about your next statement, look back at the camera, start talking again. Then a video editor is going to get in, you know, chop out the dead space and any screw-ups that you make it one congruent video, and you put it out that way. So here's the way that you kind of do it is just, you know, set yourself up. You know, obviously we're assuming you're starting from square one. So iPhones are fantastic video recording devices nowadays. There's really easy ways to be able to enhance audio and that sort of thing. You could use a lavalier mic or whatever. So, you know, get good audio. That's important. Turn the camera around, just start talking and make it happen. And another really easy way to kind of break through this barrier, Brent, I like to start people off with doing either property walkthroughs or case studies. Those are really good because that's hard. Like, here's an actual story of how I helped Lucy out of this inherited house that she just inherited from her, you know, father who just passed away. She called us at, 6 a.m. in the morning, and we were like on the phone right then and there. We were able to help her through the situation. Here's how that deal shook out. That's a really good way to do it. And that's sometimes a lot easier way for people to break into it if they've never been on video. Because they can talk, they just tell a story is really all it is.
Why not work out with your cash buyers that you sell the deals to that are flipping the properties and go into their rehabs, talk about what's going on with the property, what has been, what is going to be renovated, what's going to be ripped out, if walls are getting changed, all these things, like just all the real nitty gritty. People love seeing the progress of a house.
Stuff, man.
It is. But I mean, you could walk through and you could be like, listen, this is the money guy. This is the investor that's doing this deal right here. I found him the opportunity. I would love to buy your property as well. If you have any properties that need some love, need some renovation, we'd love to do something special in the community. Send me a message.
Yeah.
Boom. And then just put it out to the world. Put it out on TikTok. Put it out on Instagram. Put it out on Facebook. Do all of those things. Go live while you're walking through and answer people's questions about what's going on with this property and how excited you are that there's investment into this neighborhood. That's
walk through, talk about it. Like if me and Brent were there with you and you were showing us property because we're potential investors. Yeah. And you're walking through just talking about the properties. You may think like, well, how is that going to generate leads for me? But the reality is that people want relevancy. Like if they see that the kitchen is just like decimated and there's junk everywhere, but you still bought this property, a lot of times like, and you know this with a, I think you told me you talked to 45,000 people, if I'm
Property
not
owners,
mistaken,
yeah.
something like that. And there's probably a good handful of people there that were probably embarrassed to talk to you about their property because of how in poor condition it was, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes people get deterred off of like maybe the type of content you're putting out because it's a spruced up house, it's all done, it's finished, that sort of thing. Walk through those junk properties because then they're like, hey, I saw that video and my house looks a lot like that. I really didn't want to call anybody because I am a little embarrassed about this. Guys, that's real stuff that actually happens.
Yeah.
So talk about it.
And then just as you're walking through it, just be like, listen, we understand things happen in life and with finances and with, keeping up with properties, and it gets expensive. And sometimes when it gets expensive, there's a hole in the roof. During the break between our two podcasts, Joshua, my acquisition manager, was in office. He's locking up an incredible deal, and it's been a vacant property where the roof got damaged. It's been leaking in there, and there's mold. Like it needs complete mold remediation. And they don't want anybody going in there because they don't want anybody breathing it in. They don't want to cite it. You know what I mean? They're very embarrassed by it. That story going through what happens, how do you remediate it, all those things is interesting to people. So I love it. And listen, it's not only to the property owners, it's to all of your friends, all of your family, all the people that know, like, and trust you already. Now their antennas are up. They keep seeing your content. The what is it? Reticular activator.
Yeah,
that always trips me up. The antenna that comes out of our brain when we buy a car and now we see that car everywhere. If people start seeing your content, they're like, "Oh wow, Josh buys a bunch of houses. This one's my aunt once just inherited this house. It needs totally to be redone. I'm going to go call him."
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, it's real stuff. The more people that know about what it is you do, and obviously like there's a big deal about this, Brent, is just be clear. Like clarity is a really important piece of this, is let people know what you do and let them know over and over and over again. And then on top of that is like the last part of this that I tell people as well is, provide some sort of call to action. It doesn't have to be like a hard close or a hard sale or something like that where you're like literally so my rule of content is a 90-10 rule. So if you put out a video that's an hour long, 90% of that, now most of you aren't going to be doing that, but let's just say you do, for example, just for the sake of example, 90% of that should be value, like all of that, whether it's information, education, entertainment, instruction, whatever it is. And then 10% of it should be some sort of call to action, because you want people to know what they can do with you after they've received the value in some way, shape, or form. And the way that you deliver that is, we've talked about a couple times. I'm going to use this a lot, Brent, is the enthusiasm piece of that. That's a really big deal. And then obviously telling them exactly how to call this number or visit this website. And if you have any deals or somebody that's selling, make sure that you get them in contact with us and let us help them out of their situation. Empathy. Leading with empathy is a big deal too.
Yeah.
So.
My buddy Templeton Walker did 200 deals from posting every single day, walkthroughs of properties that he was rehabbing or he was selling or whatever else, and just said, "Send me your deals. Send me your deals. Send me your deals. Send me your deals," to everybody. 200 deals, zero marketing budget. Literally zero marketing budget.
That's great.
He's got an incredible personality, but there's, a countless amount of people listening to this podcast that have incredible personalities. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just getting loud. I actually have a YouTube video called "Get 10 Free Deals This Year." You can definitely check it out. All about how to build up your friend list in Facebook. And I've talked about it on the podcast, but build up your friend list in Facebook to 5,000. Hopefully they're involved in real estate, and then post every single day, "I buy houses," and watch what happens.
Yeah. And the other thing, that's a really good point too. The other thing, you said this on my podcast that we just recorded, and I thought about it. I'm like, this is something that a lot of people don't think about enough, is obviously when we're talking about like generating leads, it's like most people think like going automatically directly to the motivated seller, you guys got to remember that realtors can send you deals too. Wholesalers in your market can send you deals too, because maybe you wholesale and then another wholesaler sending you a deal, but maybe that wholesaler doesn't have a buyer for the property, but you do, because you built a buyer's list and you've invested time and effort and resources into that. So you can, make a spread on that. Yep. And that goes back to what Brent's talking about, is making sure that, the proper people know what you do, and you're just being loud about that, and tell them, send me your deals. And you do that on video through social media, and you just constantly beat that drum, and that's the way you do it.
Josh, how can people find out more about your services and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. So the first thing I would kind of point them to would be my podcast. So we just recorded an episode with Brent. Fantastic episode. We dove deep into a lot of really great topics. So the name of the podcast is called the REI Marketing Weekly. The only thing we talk about is marketing to generate motivated seller leads, or to build brand, to build your business and your marketing. So make sure you go check that out. It's on all platforms. Just go search that. You could also go connect with me on social media. Just look up Josh Culler. I'm the only verified Josh Culler on all these platforms. So you can identify me that way. Reach out to me personally. Like I could list my email and that sort of thing, go to my website, but I like to connect with people personally. So Send me a direct message. I promise I respond very quickly to messages, and just reach out to me, say Brent sent you, and we'll connect in whatever way you want.
Awesome. Josh, thanks for being on here, bud.
I appreciate you having me, man.
So important. I'm telling you, listen, the most profitable deals are referrals. And if you look at a lot of service-based businesses, they spend a lot of time to build up a reputation, to build up their brand, to be able to get to the point where they're getting these referrals coming in, because people, again, know, like, and trust them. And when they get to that point, that's when you see, like, generational wealth, like generational local brands, the air conditioning companies that have been doing it for 4 generations, the plumbers, the electricians, all of these other companies that have really established brands in every local market. They do it because, one, they did a bunch of marketing and they've been around a while, but also they have a great reputation and they get a ton of referrals.
Yeah.
So
I've always thought about that. I've always thought about like that. The Johnson and Sons lawn care company. It says like been in business for 50 years. Their logo sucks and all that, and it's like their website's terrible. People don't care, man. They just want good lawn care.
It's all and it's all referrals. It's all referrals because they have a network of people that trust them.
Exactly.
So if you want to start building that, definitely reach out to Josh. Definitely check out his podcast, and send him a DM. Awesome. Thanks, about Brent. Call to action. Thanks, Josh. And for everybody out there, if you are interested in really taking massive imperfect action, going after your first deals, or getting that consistency in your business, go to wholesalinginc.com and apply for a call with us. In that call, we're going to be breaking down the 4 main factors that really help put together a custom blueprint for your journey, because everybody is different. You're different because you have a different schedule, you have a different budget, you're in different markets, and you have different experience. Everybody has that. And we look through those 4 factors, put together the absolute perfect plan for you to go out and find some incredible real estate deals. So go to wholesalinginc.com and apply now. And that is it. I am Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I'm signing off, as I always do, encouraging you to go out there and talk to people. Love you guys. See you next time.